Well, yeah, I think that's definitely you started this project.
Yeah, I started, well, what happened is, I mean, I've been fascinated with midwifery and childbirth, and I was a doula, and I attended many births. So I loved childbirth, and I had an opportunity to go to Afghanistan and Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan to document some of the health programs there. And I traveled with one of Sergio's collaborators, Ariel Nasser, who's an Afghan-Canadian filmmaker. And he and I met a midwife that we were just so inspired by. We both decided this could be a film of these midwives doing their work in Afghanistan. And so from there, the two of us went to Sergio because Ariel had worked with him on The Forbidden Reel and other films. So it was just a nice sort of, Sergio and I knew each other from kind of seeing each other at film festivals and stuff, but we decided to work together on it.
Was that Gulbadan? Is that Gulbadan? Is that how you say her name?
Gulbadan?
Yeah. Gulbadan, yeah.
And that started in 2018.
Yeah. Ariel actually met her first. I met another midwife that's where we got the idea, and then he met Gulbadan and said, I think I found her, and shot with her, and then I went back and shot with her. And so we developed that story with you. Gulbadan was really the one that kicked it all off. Well, I mean, I think one of the key elements to this, and we were talking about this before, is it's an empowerment issue. It's basically what struck me when I gave birth with a midwife is that I was in control of this. Actually, I wasn't. My body was. Not so much me, but my body was in control of it, and no one else was telling me what to do or how to do it. It was totally my choice of how I decided to deliver this baby, and both my babies. And so the whole idea that to hand because it got taken away, it got taken away from women, that power to decide how you're going to give birth and when you're going to give birth and under what circumstances and what lighting and what, and it's now, I think if midwifery is allowed to do what it truly is meant to do, the power will go back to the women, and that's kind of, being a part of giving birth with a midwife, but also helping and being there to, witness women, the strength, they all have it in them. Every woman has it in them to do it, so, and you can talk about the catching babies thing. It's such a lovely way to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a real grit to the film, is the sense of bringing back the female autonomy, the female sense of this is a domain that has really rested with women for a long time, simply because they're giving birth, and men didn't really take much interest in it. And then, of course, with the sort of commercialization of medicalization and commercialization of the health industry, and then the idea of doctors being sort of, over controlling of this domain, multiple gendered, but just that whole industrial space, which predominantly went to men, it changed the whole concept of giving birth and the sense of what that meant for community, how women and children are brought into the world and that space. And it also sort of took away the respect of women, elder women in communities to grant that. And so one of the things that's interesting that I learned on this project that Nance and the midwives talk about is the idea that they're there to catch babies. And the term is in midwifery is called catching a baby. And it's an interesting term because it implies that the woman A that's giving birth has autonomy over the birthing process, is in charge and is controlling the process, and the midwife is just a guide, Whereas when you look at the medical practice and doctors, it's a part of a delivery, and so they're delivering babies in essence, so they're taking the ownership out of the woman during the process. And also they're taking it out of the community, so it becomes something that's disassociated with the community, and that has impact for indigenous spaces. It has impact for places that are under vulnerable spaces. And so all of those things, which were part of the places where we went to, was recognizing, okay, this is clearly the compartmentalizing of birth has had a bigger and greater impact. And so there is a feminist gaze that we wanted to incorporate into the film, and we hope that it's...
I think just the logic that, and I believed in it when I, and helped the women have their babies too, is, when you're pregnant, you're not sick, so it's sort of like, so that whole idea that you don't consider a woman ill, you don't have to go to a hospital and be treated as if you're sick to deliver a baby. You just offer, and as Jimena says in the film, you offer the most beautiful, nurturing, calm, respectful birth that you can. Hamsatu in Nigeria couldn't really offer that with what she's just down to saving lives. So it's sort of like these different ways of prioritizing what's important. Like, I have to save this woman's life because she would have bled to death at home, or I want to bring this baby into a water birth with calm music and dark, So it's interesting to sort of see birth through so many different, ways of looking at it, but empowering the woman, not as an illness. It's issue-based more than anything. We sort of chose the issues and the areas of social and global crises and conflicts that we wanted to address. So, Gulbadan obviously was basically a war-torn country and remote maternal, desperation, remote, lack of care in remote areas.
Inflation.
Yeah. So, and living in a country where women are at the bottom of the totem pole. So it's sort of, we just went around and thought, okay, migration, obviously, you go to the U.S. was a very obvious border to go to. And I just researched the sort of leaders in each of it. So Colombia, we wanted to address sort of the drug and the gang violence, but also the ancient herbal, bringing Afro-Colombian methods to childbirth and sort of how that seeps into the other women too. Jimena uses the same herbs too. So that was that issue, and Jay here in Canada, just in order to sort of, you can talk about this too, Serge, but to kind of, we didn't want to just go around and go, look at the problems everywhere else. We've got the same issues here, and we're still, there are crises here, obviously, housing, and so Jay was a really good choice for us.
Yeah, it was. We wanted to focus on a global context, and so, mix of cultures, and identities, but the thematic for us was that each of those women were addressing very distinctly different
social issues.
So that was the choices,
and that's how we chose it.
And we wanted, probably maybe we would have liked maybe someone in more maybe East Asia, but it ended up being the choices we made.
Yeah.
We contemplated someone in the north as well of Canada, but
yeah, we had sort of logistic and
there was
time
different
constraints.
challenges.
Yeah.
But we're happy with the variety.
Yeah, the women we chose are at the top of their game in each of those places. So, and they're at different top of their game, but in different stages. Gulbadan was studying and soon to graduate, so she had her whole career ahead of her. Maria was sort of towards the end of her career, but extremely well respected in her community. Jimena was just like, balls to the walls kind of, so she really was in the middle of it. Yeah, so it kind of, and Jay is, sort of coming to the end of her career as well. So it's kind of was interesting to see all these different. they shoot and there's enough sex. Why wouldn't there be
Yeah,
childbirth?
exactly.
I mean,
The
it's
creation
illogical.
is all covered, and no one seems to have problems with that. You can access it in easy form. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I guess because I've just seen so much childbirth that it doesn't seem like a strange thing for other people to see to me. So I guess I already had so many walls down about it that it honestly didn't even occur to me to censor it in any way or to shoot it in any way that...
You did shoot it. You did intend to shoot it in a different way, but you wanted to shoot it in your own way. But that wasn't necessarily about.
It wasn't about censorship.
controversy
The way I did shoot the Nigerian birth with Aisha was done just, I wanted it almost a POV of the mother, like as if she's looking down her belly and the first thing she sees. So I wanted it, I shot it purposely that way, and as it turns out, it works out that it's not, you're not just looking at someone's vagina the whole time. I mean, you're seeing the birth from the mother's perspective. So that was very intentional. And but with Jimena's birth, to capture that water birth in the way, and it just completely demonstrated her whole way of encouraging how all the other women, all that was water, all her are water births in her clinic. So all the women that give birth with her are mostly done in pools, in water births. So it just was very representative of how she felt was the most nurturing and respectful way to bring a baby. So that was shot in a way where you could really see the water, but I don't think it consciously was trying to hide anything. It just sort of naturally wasn't too obvious. But we have a junior editor that I was looking at it and was like, so it's sort of, I didn't realize that it would shock anybody but I guess you're right. Probably people your age would be like, wow, that's a lot. But to us, it didn't seem like that.
Yeah. I mean, there is interesting context in the sense where culturally, even just the breast is a it's a sexualized thing. But when you're in the context of a baby and a mother, it's just a functional form of milk deliverance, And so what was interesting for us is ways in which we felt conscious about culturally treating that was, for instance, in Afghanistan, the reveal of a breast was controversial. So there's points where we wanted to not reveal that and not show it. And it's not even showing the nipple. It's just simply, being unclothed doesn't fare well for the woman in question. And whereas in some African culture, being half naked is quite comfortable. So there's no stigma or cultural controversy around.
Yeah, we let the culture of the place kind of guide us, I think.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So it's but I think Nance did a really good job with the way in which we depicted it, where it felt, we wanted it to feel natural. Like, this is a natural process. The birthing was natural. And the women were comfortable letting us film with them, and we spent time with them, and so that it worked out where it didn't feel like they didn't feel there was a controversy, and the midwives were very conscious of our presence and very accepting. So
it was done pretty respectfully, very respectfully.
Shop, but it was just we didn't know that it would just pop out. I guess you never learn anything about, but I think that speaks to your point about
they don't just pop out. That was her fourth or fifth one. They don't usually just pop out.
Took a while for it to pop out.
Mine didn't pop out.
Even that one. Yeah.
Even that one took a while. No, we did a lot of cutting, so no, it just doesn't pop out. But no, I mean, she was a very silent birther. Like, it was really interesting because I was not silent at all. So no, a lot of it was, she was a very calm birther, but that was her fourth, I think. Yeah. So, yeah.
There needs to be more education about this in order for us to not I don't know, because personally, I don't really know. And that's why like this film is like important to me because I'm like, well, I've never learned about this aspect of life before. But it's literally the start of the circle of the cycle of life.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah.
important.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sergio wasn't. It wasn't, I honestly
Depended
don't
on where
know.
those spaces, like I didn't go into for
Aisha.
Institute or Aisha. I wasn't there. I mean, I was outside, but I just didn't feel that one more person
wasn't
in the
enough room,
But
first of
I
all.
think in the end, she was very sweet. She probably wouldn't have had a
I don't
problem.
think she, and when you're in labor, I swear to God, you don't.
Yeah.
Like my daughter just gave birth this year too, and she had it on. She had it all like planned, like who and afterwards she's like, I don't give.
Yeah.
You don't.
Once you get going,
you're into it,
just
you're in your
yeah.
own world, and you could probably have 10 people in the room and you don't care. But it was she was really cooperative, and I think he probably it was more. I mean, she was Muslim,
Yeah.
so I don't know if it would have been. I think that
cultural
would have been a bit
context.
much to ask, to have him in the room. But so it was just me shooting that whole birth. Yeah, which was such an honor. I mean, it was such an honor to be there. Yeah.
So the consent's definitely a really big part, and like respect. It's also
Yeah.
definitely very much.
Yeah, I mean, it was very. Yeah, I felt it was very respectful, and because it was, it was quite a while. So we were with her for much of the day, and so kind of got, she got very used to me, and she was looking right past me. I mean, I don't think she even noticed anymore. So it was very. And Hamsa too was very welcoming of having the camera there too. She was a performer. Hamsa too is a bit of a storyteller. So yeah, so it felt very respectful, and it felt like they said they were going to name the baby Nancy, but but the men named the baby, so I think I might have gotten voted off that idea. I might have been bumped.
Yeah.
So yeah, so.
I know there's a lot.
That's a lot there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think because of the media and the noise, the amount of media that we have in our world right now, I think you can become numb and also, like, is this actually real? It could be AI, I don't know. Or, it's just like so much is coming at us that I think people close it off. So I hope people come away with the idea that, this is happening around the world. These things are happening around the world, but they're also happening here. And it's not just, it's not the way to look at it isn't just the way that the news or that social media is portraying it, that the way to look at it could be a different point of view. And that was like from a female perspective and from a hopeful, like I think I want people to come away with it that there is hope, because honestly, what else is there? So I think we wanted to show that this through all these big social issues through the eyes of these really strong midwives and their really strong mothers that gave birth, that there is actually hope and you can actually do something about the beginning of life. And it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. So I don't know, I just hope, and I hope anybody that are planning to give birth or planning to have children, or, I hope they see it as a sort of empowerment, like they can do it I can do it, I can do this. And I just want people to be empowered by it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fundamentals are, midwifery is an essential service, and first and foremost, it was very much a tip of the hat to women that are, and there's men who provide midwifery services as well, and so it's,
And doulas, there's a lot of male doulas, yeah.
Just people that provide that type of work, which is more community-based, driven type of maternal health, and so it's an essential service, and one of the things that we were finding more and more is that the women were a lot of times first-line responders in these communities, and so they weren't just delivering babies or catching babies. They were usually providing essential
Water.
health, water, sustenance needs. They were taking care of the kids.
Blankets, everything.
There was a political influence in terms of bringing, like in the case of Gulbadan, like this was a woman who was respected within the community. So their stature was growing as a woman, and so that was respected.
They have a much bigger role.
And when you're stopping one of the largest, factors of death in some of these communities is childbirth for women and children. It has a huge impact. So.
Yeah, like we were saying, the statistic is like a woman dies every 2 minutes in childbirth. So it's sort of like the goal is to get people aware of this, and hopefully, and the International Confederation of Midwives is trying to get 1 million more midwives on trained and working to save lives, the lives of mothers and babies. So yeah, I hope people come away with a need to sort of become educated about it. And do what they can to help. Yeah.
And I think the other thing was that, we wanted to address that there's conflict in the world, and usually our instinct is to approach it with boots on ground, soldiers. It's like there's a militarized way in which you can address violence, and we wanted to look at how there's a whole other,
look at it.
different approach. There's a different, softer, gentler, more conscientious,
beautiful,
hopeful, and it still addresses violence in a very different way. It has successes and failures in its own way, but it's another approach, and just the more we're bringing awareness to that, then I think that's where we wanted to leave the audience.
When Jimenez says in the film, like, some of these women have never been asked if you can touch their body, and just stuff like that. That changes people's lives and their perspectives, and they just suddenly feel a self-respect and a self-confidence. Oh, I can say no, or I can, Making films is it's pretty complicated because you start out with an idea, but whoever's going to fund the film has possibly a different idea as to the format. And we did want it to be a series. We wanted to just keep going and finding midwives around, and we still do. I'd love to have that. I'd love to just keep finding midwives around the world doing the work that they're doing and telling those social issue stories. So it sort of started as a series, but what people wanted, the people that wanted to fund it at TVO wanted a feature doc, and so we did it that way. And so we had to really pivot, just in terms of, documentaries are sort of created in the edit suite, so it's not that big a pivot, but it was still it was a job to weave together 5 women into a feature doc. It was a pretty big challenge and a pretty big pivot. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think every film you embark on, you
pivot. It's just a series. Basically,
but you also grow, right? It's like they teach you something, and in turn you kind of give a little of your soul to your project, and for this there was
several moments.
Quite a few moments, and it's a lot of it's like filmmaking is very much about relationship building. So for us, it's like you create a relationship with these women that are doing such amazing work, and then you want to honor that. You want to and part of that is to at least deliver the film that you made. So it's like it motivates you to finish it because you've started something with them.
One little incident that I think is a great little story about the women's group in San Francisco Barrio, in the Barrio in Colombia. We just asked this woman leader of the community, and this was a barrio that had been under attack, bullet holes everywhere and burnout buildings, and really in a bad way. And they just got 24-hour police protection and army protection, and so I just sort of said, it would be great to talk to a few of the women and find out, how life is in this barrio as a woman. And we walked in, and how many
The
women
next
were
day,
there?
yeah.
Next
They
day,
gathered the whole
it was
community,
basically the whole village, the whole barrio.
Yeah.
There must have been 20 women
All
there.
these, yeah.
I mean, it's sort of, you see a part of it in the film, but, and it was just like, whoa, you know, these, and one woman did, and it's in the film, did the rap, did the sort of spoken word, and it was just, that just sort of woke me up to like, they really are just desperate to get their story out, and they want to talk about what it's like to live there and what it's like as a woman to give birth there. I mean, one woman, you know, talked about helping a woman, you know, with bullets going over her head, and you know, it's just like, so that was a real sort of like, oh, okay, I guess we'll do that, you know, because they just woke us up to a real, a massive issue in their community, and to just look at violence completely from a woman's perspective and their children, you know, it was pretty eye-opening. Yeah. We've got
There's two of them coming.
two of them coming to the premiere.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. If you're
30th? Or the
30th
first?
and the first, both nights. So you get to meet both Jay and Jimena. So yeah, if you're coming, that'd be great for any of those or whoever's there. And so they'll be talking after. We hope.
Yeah, Jimena's traveling up with her two babies.
We're-
She's had a
yeah.
baby since the last baby.
Yeah. So she's got her 3 sons with her, and
Which
so,
she takes with her everywhere.
Yeah. So, and
Yeah.
Emilio he did some excellent drone
work.
and
He was our
gimbal
assistant
work,
and got us the
and
best
he was our
coffee in Tijuana.
fixer, and really talented young man. We were quite happy
And
with
cocktails.
him.
Good cocktails
Yeah,
and
good
coffee.
cocktails
He
and
was-
coffees. Yeah, he was very talented.
So
and
he's
we
coming.
traveled with
And
both
Jay will
of
be
them to the south of Mexico and New Mexico. And
Jay, our Canadian midwife, is.
Jay, our Canadian midwife.
And
And
we're going to try to get, I think we're going to try to get screenings
screenings in those different locations.
Nigeria, which I think will be less of an issue. Colombia will be relatively easy. We'll be able to do right in, I think, I found the perfect wall in the San Francisco. I want to project it on a wall. And then Afghanistan will be the most challenging. I think I want to try to get her up to Tajikistan and cross the border, which is not too hard because I've done it, but cross the border over into Tajikistan and have a screening there for her. I mean, they can also see it. They've got phones, so they can watch it on their phone. But we want to,
On the screen.
yeah. I'd love to
Yeah.
have like a blow up screen. I could just, in the community, but we'll see what happens.
They came to
Oh yeah, they're all still working.
yeah, they're all active.
They're all
yeah,
still working.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they're all in different contexts. I mean, Jay's somewhat retired and
Winding
still has
down a bit.
health issues, but she's still
Active.
very passionate. And Golbadan is earlier in her career, but she also sadly has some health issues.
Jimena's just expanding her network
Yeah.
all across Mexico.
She's created a huge
powerhouse.
Yeah, a huge. Yeah, very, very health conscious, very like community oriented, and also very
and
activist.
ancestral. All of her
Yeah.
ancestral. She's a Tomi Indian, so very much in tune with all the ancestral
Yeah.
indigenous healing practices for midwifery. She's going to be great
Yeah.
to have here.
Yeah.
Sounds very